In this webinar today, we are going to look at AI tools for content, campaigns, and productivity. I'm Neil Wilkins, and this is Cambridge Marketing College. Choosing the right tools to improve efficiency without losing quality or control is absolutely essential. What we're going to look at in this session is a practical overview of the current best-in-class AI tools specifically for marketers. The focus is going to be on where they add real value, how they kind of are specialist tools in their own right, how to use them responsibly, and also how to integrate them into structured workflows, which is absolutely key. Each individual tool is a specialist, and we're going to focus in on one or two that hopefully will be able to enable you to raise your game in these areas of content, campaigns, and productivity. They're not the only options available. Obviously, there are literally hundreds of tools in each of these categories that we're going to cover, but these are some of the best that are available to you right now. And tool selection matters more now than it ever has. AI tools are no longer optional in marketing operations. Just having one tool and expecting it to be the best in class for everything that you do is no longer appropriate. The challenge isn't access, but selection and integration, choosing the right tools for the right activities that you're doing. So efficiency without structure is going to ensure that you create inconsistency. So what we want to make sure that we're doing is using fewer tools really well rather than lots of tools poorly. That is the general remit here as we go through this session. What we're doing actually as we do this is building an AI marketing stack. And there is a bit of a framework really here for you to think about. And you can organize tools by the functions of things that you do. So things like strategy and insight, writing and editing, visual and multimedia creation, campaign activation and scheduling, automation and workflow, of course, of all the operations that you have. And now we're seeing the emergence of agents and advanced systems. So each tool that you select should serve a clear stage in your marketing value chain, if you'd like to call it that. So this is almost a checklist of where you can infill some of the things that you do on a day-to-day basis or maybe week-to-week basis with AI support. So we're looking here at a hybrid function. This is not here to replace you by any means. You are still the human in control, but hybrid working alongside these AI tools in these categories is absolutely key. So let's begin the first section, which is writing and editing. So for writing, I would be recommending here probably something like ChatGPT. Primary use cases for ChatGPT would be drafting blog posts, email sequences, ad copy, that kind of thing. You can use it to generate campaign concepts and messaging variants and summarize, obviously, research or reports on the other end of the writing that you do. Always start with a very clear brief. Make sure the prompt is very, very consistent with the tone, the audience, and the objective that you have, not just the output, but the objective that that output is hoping to serve, and then edit and refine manually. So the general workflow tip here is to use it to help you draft, refine, and then check the tone of voice and whether it's on brand. And then you are the human that's going to review and publish. That's the key here. This is not replacing you, it's working in collaboration with you like an assistant. Now, one of the things that you can do here in this writing and editing section is think about the editing. Hemingway is a very, very good tool for this. Primary kind of usage of this would be improving the clarity and readability of the work that you're writing, shortening sentences, removing passive voice, which search engines don't like, and ensuring accessibility. So you can aim for clarity before cleverness. The Hemingway will strip stuff back and will keep it really tight and focused. So it'll really help you to edit appropriately. And it will keep the reading level appropriate to your audience. So you can use it as a final polishing tool, and it is very, very good at ensuring that you are SEO friendly as well as human friendly. So the workflow tip here is you're writing, maybe using GPT, paste into Hemingway, allow the adjustments to happen, and again, you then do the final review. Next section of this will be things like images and video. Now, for images, I would be pushing you to have an exploration of imagine.art. You can use this for campaign concept visuals, for social graphics, maybe mood boards if you're working with an agency or colleagues, and things like product mock-ups. It will help you to use consistently your brand prompts. You can plug those in at the front end and it will remember those. You can save prompt libraries for repeatability if you're having to kind of replicate stuff on a regular basis. And you can apply brand color correction manually. So there's a lot of kind of editing availability in there for you. So the flow, the workflow here would be concept, generate 3 to 5 options using imagine.art, maybe select your favorite option, and then maybe take it into a sort of complementary tool, something like Canva, for your finished, polished item. If you're looking more towards the video end of things, obviously there are many, as there are with all of these tools, many alternatives, but a very good one to test out now at the moment is Kling. You can use that for sort of AI generated short form video if you need something quick for, say, social media posts. You can use it as a product explainer, creating clips there, or maybe for some social reels and motion content. You need to script first before generating. Think really clearly, scene by scene, descriptions of what the story is you're trying to tell, and review the transitions very carefully. You can even create looping videos if that's appropriate to you. So the script, you might use ChatGPT to help you alongside that, because obviously it might have created some words that are going to accompany this video. You can then generate the video using something like Kling, go into edit, maybe add captions, and then schedule the content. If you want more support really in terms of the behind the scenes, so something like maybe music or a soundtrack to go alongside the video or the images you're producing, Suno is a great platform to explore. The typical kind of usage for this is background music for campaigns, social video, audio, and maybe sort of branded intro, outro themes for a podcast or a webinar introduction, that kind of thing. You do need to keep the tone aligned to your brand personality. It does have a tendency to become quite creative. So use consistent audio identity in there. So you can input your own words, or if you're going for the instrumental, input some guidance as to where you want this to go. And ensure licensing terms are reviewed. Make sure that if you've got the paid account and that you're not trying to sort of infringe anybody else's copyright, that this is your output. So define the mood. The workflow would be define the mood, generate the track, and then integrate into your video editor if you're using it as a backup to your video creation. Now, if you want to go down more of the angle of video avatars, then HeyGen is a great option for you. It can create multilingual training videos, maybe something for sales outreach, personalized campaign messages, and even executive thought leadership, because you're able to scale this because you can literally get it to create maybe a series of content pieces for internal or external use. The great thing about using a video avatar through something like HeyGen is that you can maintain consistency. So you can maintain authenticity and disclosure. You can keep scripts human sounding. You can avoid over automation. So it is a very, very good way of keeping a consistent tone and realism in your videos. So you'd again script. So again, it starts with you and your objectives and your ambition here. You then record your voice or some text, and it will then generate an avatar video either that looks like you if you record a video for it to learn from, or maybe just the sound if you're going to be again using this to generate an intro piece maybe for a podcast episode. If you're taking things now into kind of a more collaborative way, and so you're starting to use the images, the video, maybe sound, etc., into a campaign, then we're going to move into the next section, which is campaign design and promotion. Now, for this, often a go-to and very heavily AI enabled now is Canva. A lot of people are using Canva and have done now for quite some years. Typical kind of usage is things like ad creative, social posts, presentations, email visuals, that kind of thing where you're wanting to create something that is really slick, really professional looking, but you need it quickly. Canva is your supporter for this. So you can use brand kits, reusable templates, and maintain a consistent typography and maybe the consistency of spacing and layout and formatting. It's very, very good for building on a consistent theme. So the visual creation is obviously important up front. You can then resize automatically for particular outputs. So if you're looking for something for maybe LinkedIn versus Instagram, it knows and it can then work with your outputs desired and automatically do that. And so you can be exporting then in channel specific formats. Again, speeding up your time and your efficiency. You also might be looking here to use AI for paid media optimization. And there are a number of different tools that you can be looking at here. Importantly here, this is going to be supporting your creative. So this kind of takes the creative on to the next stage. Smartly.io or Meta AI Creative Optimization or Google Performance Max are all platforms that will enable you, if you're going down the paid route, to optimize your content. The main purpose behind these things is to automate things like A/B testing or the optimization of your budget or creative variation rotation on certain outputs that you're putting there. So you can test which of your creative outputs are working best. Now, if you want to then start to think about this in a more kind of operational kind of way, then you're going to start to think about productivity and workflow. One of the tools that is becoming very, very popular at the moment is Manus. We're using this now for vibe coding, which basically means you don't have to be a coder, but you can actually get into a prompt conversation with a tool like Manus, and it will build literally before your eyes a landing page, a new website, an app, for example, a native app or a web app. And we're using this to build lightweight tools in lots of ways. And you can do rapid prototyping of a landing page that maybe isn't the final one, but it enables you then maybe to pass it to your designer or your creative team or your agency to then actually create the final output. So you can create microsites, internal dashboards, that kind of thing. So this is where you're going to become almost the expert in everything, because with vibe coding, it can then provide these kind of tools that really facilitate and enable your day. So if that sounds of interest, go check out Manus. Really, really good one. Back to the OpenAI kind of family, if you like, now with the concept of agents. So agents are autonomous AIs that just go off and do stuff without you needing to constantly prompt them. One very good platform in the OpenAI family is Atlas. This is ChatGPT's browser, and it can then automate research, data summarization, maybe monitoring competitors or workflow assistance, that kind of things. But if you are going to start to explore agents who you're going to set free into the world to be doing things without your direct micromanagement, then you need to define the boundaries clearly. You need to keep yourself or others as a human in decision loops. Don't let the agents control everything. You need to be part of that process. And audit outputs regularly is really, really key, because they can almost be seen as sort of getting a life of their own. And of course, you always want to stay in touch. But if agents is your thing, check out Atlas. Automation is becoming ever popular as well, because with automation, it frees up your time to be doing higher value things. One of the more recent platforms here is OpenClaw. You can develop MyClaws, little sort of micro automated workflow points, if you like, and these will be trigger-based marketing processes. So certain points in processes that you do day to day, week to week, you can start to automate, and you can start to get these AI tools doing CRM updates, integrating tools together. So as we said before, you might have Kling producing your video, and then Canva producing the final output that goes into an ad. Well, OpenClaw could create a little automation point here that actually joins those two together, so you don't have to. So the workflow here would be the trigger, the condition, the action, and then the human review checkpoint. Always, always, always. And you're going to have to map your processes first as well. So really understanding the flows that you have and the things that you do is key to be able to keep control here. That's absolutely critical. And there are some other more specialist AI tools in different categories here, SEO and content optimization. If you need to be doing that, and particularly now as we're starting to do optimization for AI search, so answer engine optimization, for example, which is very different to search engine optimization, you need to be exploring server SEO, phrase, or clear scope. The purpose behind these is that they are looking at semantic keyword optimization, not just tags and phrases and alt text and descriptions and titles on images and that kind of thing. They're going much more into the nuances of meaning behind content. So that is a big, big one that you need to explore if SEO is in your job description. And on the other end of the process, analytics and insight tools. What is not to like using AI? And you almost certainly will have explored and experimented with this in terms of analyzing the insights and the data that you have. And again, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Grok, Copilot, all of the big, big tools can do this stuff. But some of the insight tools that are more specialist in here, Looker Studio, Accio, Beacon AI, these allow you to do a more kind of specialist deep dive into some of the data and analytics that you have. And they can then surface predictive insights, conversion forecasting, and performance interpretation. So lots of other kind of more nuanced things if you want to go really deep into what is actually happening under the hood of my marketing. And as part of that, you could also be thinking, of course, of social listening and sentiment analysis. So, how are my customers and the world feeling about me and my brand? So, not only what are they behaving like, but how is that making them feel? That's sentiment analysis. So, Brandwatch, Talkwalker, Sprout Social AI, all of these enable you to get a deeper insight into your audience. Campaign sentiment tracking, as well as people's views change over the period of a campaign, and early risk detection, which of course we all need to do to make sure that we're making really good decisions every single day. So what you might be thinking at this point is, well, that's okay, Neil, if all of these things are doing individual tasks, but don't we need to start to kind of integrate them a little bit more? And the answer is absolutely yes. So here's a little AI workflow model that you can start to work with, because tools need to connect with each other across this life cycle. So defining the strategy, creating the content, generating the assets, deploying the campaign, analyzing the performance, and then making sure your insights are fed back into this continual loop of a workflow. So it really is a process. And when I say process mapping, I can't kind of emphasize that stronger. It really is that. That is what we're after here. And as part of that, integrating tools strategically means you're going to need, as part of protecting the reputation, and that is your role. Really, you are ultimately accountable. AI is going to accelerate production, but it really, the buck stops with you. So you need guardrails and quality control. The sorts of controls are brand voice documentation, human editorial review, AI usage policies, and disclosure where it's appropriate and necessary. So actually documenting the kind of due diligence that you've done to make sure you're retaining quality all the way through, and creating these little processes so you could hand these over to others who may be working with you in the future. So the criteria, I would say, when you're starting to choose your AI tools can follow a very specific pattern. And if these tick boxes aren't checked, then I would say probably just carry on as a human for now, because they might not be, as AI is adding too much value. But most of the time, you'll find that you can find an AI solution. The questions really to be asking here is, does it solve a real marketing problem? Does it integrate with my existing systems and processes? Does it improve measurable outcomes? That's a key one. And can the team use it confidently? And also, does it maintain brand control? If there's a no to any of those questions when you're answering them, then there's a deeper dive and a deeper reflection that you need to do. But most of the time, the correct tools selected will enable you to do all of those things quite effectively. Because, of course, if you don't, then what you might be doing is falling into the trap of tool overload, just doing stuff for the sake of it because it's shiny and new and fun. You might find there's a lack of workflow clarity. The more you kind of do this, you think things are becoming a bit confusing and jumbled. And, certain tools, well, they don't have to be just doing their own thing. They could be doing this and this. And then you've got multiple tools trying to do the same thing. And also over reliance on automation. It is that it's a hybrid approach. You are part of this process. So always remember that. And that governance I was talking about, that oversight, the accountability of being you, that is really, really important. So, an example AI stack, I used this phrase at the start of this talk. An AI stack, maybe for a small team, could be writing, ChatGPT, editing, Hemingway, images, Imagine.art, video, maybe Kling, music, Suno, promotions, Canva, automation, OpenClaw, agents, Atlas. And by looking at it in that way, considering it as an AI stack, it enables you to keep things manageable and documented. Now, that's for a small team, but what about a larger team? Well, I would say it's all of those things for the smaller team, but you'd add Surfer SEO, Smartly.io, Brandwatch, and Beacon AI. And assign maybe tool ownership to different individuals. Ultimately, it doesn't necessarily have to be you responsible for everything, although you might be able to create some agents. See where we're going with this, who actually are responsible for certain relationships with these tools. That's for another day. But you can kind of see how we're building this into a process and a way of really controlling and managing really effective marketing here. So if you want to do this, if you want to build a practical AI stack, I would say over the next 30 days, think of it like this. Week one, audit your current tools. Week two, remove duplication. Week three, integrate maybe 1 to 2 new tools. Week four, review the impact on workflow and quality. And the key here is to measure efficiency and output improvement. That's over 30 days. So in the next month, you could actually build a practical AI stack version one, but it is version one. This is an ongoing process. As new tools come into play, you may well want to swap some in or out. But once you've got this process, once you have your practical AI stack, you've then got control. You've got choices. You're using specific and specialist AI to do specific things within your workflows. So AI tools, as a final thought, really, AI tools are most powerful when they support structure, not replace it. So you've got to know your processes. You've got to know what you're trying to achieve. You have to have a strategy first to be really effective using AI. And the future marketer is not the one using the most tools. It's very easy to fall into that trap. The most effective future marketer is the one using the right tools with clarity and with discipline.